James Hetfield was signing autographs after the show when someone told him about the man in Section 14, Row 8, Seat 12. The man who'd checked himself out of the hospital that morning. The man whose doctors said he had weeks to live. The man who'd used what little strength he had left to get to this concert because Metallica's music was the only thing keeping him alive. Hetfield put down the marker and said, "Take me to him." The concert had ended 20 minutes earlier at a venue in the American Midwest. It was a typical stop on Metallica's tour. Good crowd, high energy, the usual post-show routine. Hetfield and the band were backstage doing what they always did after a performance, meeting fans, signing merchandise, decompressing from the adrenaline rush of playing for thousands of people. But this night was about to become anything but typical. A venue staff member approached Hetfield with an unusual urgency. "James, there's someone you need to meet," she said. "He's still in his seat. He can't really move much, but he refused to leave until he could tell you something." Hetfield was used to emotional fans. In 40 years of performing, he'd met people who credited Metallica's music with getting them through divorces, deaths, depression, addiction. He'd heard countless stories about how a song or an album had changed someone's life. But something about the way the staff member was speaking suggested this was different. "What's his story?" Hetfield asked. "He has a brain tumor," she said quietly. "Terminal. He checked himself out of the hospital this morning, against medical advice, to come to this show. His family is with him. They said this might be the last thing he ever does." Hetfield felt his chest tighten. He'd been in recovery from alcohol addiction for years, had dealt with his own demons, had spoken openly about mental health and the struggles that came with fame. But this was different. This was someone facing death, and they'd chosen to spend what might be their final conscious hours at a Metallica concert. "Take me to him," Hetfield said. They walked through the emptying venue. Most of the 15,000 fans had already left, but scattered groups remained, some buying merchandise, others taking photos, a few still caught up in the post-concert high. Security cleared a path as Hetfield made his way toward Section 14. The man was still in his seat. He was thin, clearly weakened by illness and treatment, wearing a Metallica t-shirt that hung loosely on his frame. A baseball cap covered what appeared to be a mostly bald head, the telltale sign of chemotherapy. His wife sat beside him, holding his hand. On his other side was a teenage boy who looked like his son, eyes red from crying. When the man saw Hetfield approaching, his face transformed. Despite the obvious pain and exhaustion, he smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that seemed to draw on reserves of energy that shouldn't have existed. "James," he said, his voice weak but clear. Hetfield knelt down beside the seat, bringing himself to eye level. "Hey, brother, I heard you came a long way to be here tonight." The man laughed, which turned into a brief cough. His wife steadied him, her own eyes filling with tears. "You could say that," the man said. "I left the hospital this morning. The doctors weren't too happy about it." "I bet they weren't," said Hetfield gently. "You doing okay? That was a loud show."
"It was perfect," the man said. "Every second of it. I've been a fan since I was 13 years old. That was 37 years ago. I've been to maybe 20 of your concerts over the years, but tonight was special." His wife interjected, her voice breaking. "The doctors gave him 30 days. That was 4 months ago. He shouldn't even be conscious right now, but he was determined to see you perform one more time." Hetfield felt emotion rising in his throat, the same feeling he got sometimes on stage when he'd catch a glimpse of someone in the crowd and realize the profound impact music could have on a person's life. "What's your name?" Hetfield asked. "Michael," the man said. "Michael Patterson." "Well, Michael Patterson, I'm honored you chose to spend your evening with us. Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "The doctors said 30 days. That was 4 months ago. What do you think has kept you going?" Michael didn't hesitate. "Your music. I know that sounds crazy. The doctors certainly think so. But when the pain gets so bad I can barely think, I put on Fade to Black, or Nothing Else Matters, and somehow I can breathe again. When I feel like giving up, I listen to Master of Puppets, and I remember what it feels like to fight. Your music has been my medicine." Hetfield's eyes were wet now. He reached out and put his hand on Michael's shoulder. "Can I tell you something? We make music because we need to. It's how we process the world, how we deal with pain, how we survive. But the reason we keep doing it, the reason we keep touring after all these years, is because of people like you. You're not just a fan, Michael. You're the reason the music matters." Michael's wife was openly crying now. The son had his head down, shoulders shaking. Around them, venue staff and security personnel who'd gathered to watch the interaction were wiping their eyes. "I want to tell you about something. The night I got the diagnosis, the night they told me it was terminal and there was nothing they could do, I went home and I was ready to give up. I sat in my garage with a bottle of pills, ready to just end it on my own terms, rather than waste away. But my wife found me, and she put on The Unforgiven. We just sat there and listened to it together. And something in that song, I don't know, it made me want to fight. Not to win, because I knew I couldn't win, but to fight anyway, to live every day I had left." Hetfield was struggling to maintain his composure. "That's not crazy, Michael. That's exactly what that song is about. Fighting even when you know you might lose. Standing up even when everything's pushing you down. I have a request. It's probably asking too much, but name it. Could you sing something? Just a little bit here? I know you just performed for 3 hours, but—" Hetfield didn't hesitate. "What do you want to hear?" "Nothing Else Matters," Michael said. "It was playing when I proposed to my wife. It was our wedding song, and it's the song I want to be thinking about when the time comes." Hetfield nodded. He stood up, took a deep breath, and right there in section 14 of an emptying arena, with no microphone, no amplification, no band, he began to sing. His voice, raw and unpolished without the production of a concert, filled the immediate space around them. The acoustic version, gentle and vulnerable. The few remaining people in the venue stopped what they were doing and listened. Michael closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face. His wife held him close. His son put his hand on his father's shoulder. And James Hetfield sang for an audience of one dying man and his family, giving what might be the most important performance of his entire career. When he finished, there was silence. Then Michael opened his eyes and said simply, "Thank you. Thank you for everything, for all the years, for all the music, for tonight. Thank you for my life."
Hetfield embraced him, carefully, aware of how fragile this man was. "Thank you, Michael. Thank you for showing me why this all matters." Before he left, Hetfield took off his own tour jacket, a special piece from that specific tour run, and draped it over Michael's shoulders. "Keep fighting, brother," he said. "You've already beaten them by 4 months. Who knows what you're capable of?" The moment became part of Metallica lore, though the band never publicized it. They didn't need to. Michael's family shared the story, and it spread through the Metallica fan community like wildfire, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moments in music happen not in front of thousands, but in front of one person who needs it most. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, the most remarkable part was yet to come. Michael Patterson didn't die in 30 days. He didn't die in 4 months. Against every medical prediction, Michael lived for another 18 months after that concert. His tumor didn't shrink. The cancer didn't go into remission, but he kept living. His oncologist, Dr. Sarah Chen, later called Michael's case medically inexplicable. By every metric, he should have died within weeks.
But there's something we don't measure in medicine, Dr. Chen said. We can't quantify will to live. We can't scan for hope. Michael had something driving him that was more powerful than the disease. During those 18 months, Michael attended 3 more Metallica concerts. Each time, Hetfield would find a moment to connect with him. Michael's son, David, later described those months as the most painful and most beautiful time of our lives. Dad was dying. Every day was harder, but he was also more alive than I'd ever seen him. Every conversation mattered. Every sunset was worth watching, and the music was everything to him. Michael started a blog during this time, writing about his experience. One entry, 6 months after meeting Hetfield, read, "I should have been dead 5 months ago. Instead, I just came home from my daughter's college graduation. The doctors can't explain it, but I know what it is. Choosing to live fully in whatever time you have." When James sang to me that night, he reminded me that my story wasn't over yet. The Metallica fan community rallied around Michael. Someone started #KeepFightingMichael, which trended globally. James Hetfield, who normally kept private interactions with fans private, made an exception for Michael. He called him monthly just to check in. Brief conversations, but they meant everything. In his final weeks, when Michael could no longer leave the house, Hetfield sent him a video message. In it, he spoke directly to Michael about strength, about legacy, about the impact one person's courage could have on others. "You've taught me something, brother," Hetfield said in the video. "You've reminded me that music isn't just about entertainment. It's not about ticket sales or chart positions. It's about connection. It's about giving people something to hold on to when everything else is falling apart. You held on to our music, and in doing so, you gave us a gift. You showed us that what we do matters. Thank you for that." Michael Patterson died on a Tuesday morning in spring, surrounded by his family, with Metallica playing softly in the background. He'd survived 548 days past his original diagnosis, 518 days longer than his doctors had predicted. At his funeral, his family played the video Hetfield had sent. There wasn't a dry eye in the chapel. But Michael's impact didn't end with his death. His blog, which documented his journey, had been read by tens of thousands of people. His story inspired others facing terminal diagnoses to find meaning in their remaining time. A cancer support organization in Michael's hometown started the Patterson Project, inspired by his experience, bringing live music to hospice patients and cancer wards. The program expanded to hospitals nationwide.
Metallica's All Within My Hands Foundation partnered with the Patterson Project. Michael showed us that music isn't a luxury for the sick or dying, Lars Ulrich said. It's medicine, it's hope, it's life. Dr. Chen, Michael's oncologist, began incorporating music therapy into her treatment protocols. "Michael's case taught me that we've been too narrow in how we think about fighting disease," she said. "We focus on killing tumors, but we forget about strengthening the person carrying the tumor." Michael's will to live, fueled by his love of music and his desire to experience more of it, gave him time that medicine alone couldn't provide. The story resonated far beyond the Metallica fan community. It became a testament to the power of music, to the importance of human connection, and to the way that choosing to live fully, even in the face of death, can inspire others. For James Hetfield, the experience profoundly affected how he approached performing. In interviews afterward, he often referenced Michael when talking about why Metallica continued to tour despite being in their 60s, despite the physical toll, despite having nothing left to prove. "I met a man who was dying, and he used his last bit of energy to come to our show," Hetfield said. If someone will do that, if our music means that much to them, then the least I can do is give everything I have when I'm on that stage. Every night could be someone's last concert. Every show could be the one thing someone's been fighting to experience. That changes how you perform. It changes everything. The seat where Michael sat that final night, section 14, row 8, seat 12, became something of a pilgrimage site for Metallica fans. People would buy tickets to that specific seat when the band played that venue, taking photos and leaving tributes. Eventually, the venue placed a small plaque on the seat, in memory of Michael Patterson, who taught us that music is life. 5 years after Michael's death, his son David attended a Metallica concert at the same venue. He'd bought tickets to section 14, row 8, seat 12. During the concert, James Hetfield paused between songs and did something unexpected. "There's someone here tonight sitting in a very special seat," Hetfield said to the crowd. His father sat in that seat 5 years ago, knowing he was dying, but refusing to give up without seeing one more show. That man taught me what courage looks like. This next song is for him and for his son David, who's with us tonight. This is for everyone who's fighting something. This is for everyone who refuses to give up. They played Nothing Else Matters, and in section 14, row 8, seat 12, David Patterson cried, wearing his father's tour jacket, the one Hetfield had given Michael that night, and felt his father's presence in every note. The medical community still can't fully explain Michael Patterson's case. 18-month survival with his type of brain tumor falls well outside normal ranges. But Michael's family and James Hetfield believe something else. They believe that sometimes hope and purpose can do what medicine cannot. Did the music cure his cancer? No. But did it give him a reason to keep fighting? Absolutely. Did it help him live longer than anyone thought possible? I know what I saw. Music kept my father alive. Today, whenever James Hetfield performs Nothing Else Matters, he thinks of Michael Patterson in section 14, row 8, seat 12. He thinks of a man who chose to live fully even while dying. He thinks of how a 3-minute song can be someone's entire world. And he remembers why, after all these years, after all the success and all the struggles, Metallica keeps playing. Because somewhere in every audience there might be someone like Michael, someone fighting something, someone holding on, someone who needs the music to survive one more day. That's not just entertainment. That's not just performance. That's the power of human connection. That's what happens when music becomes more than sound, when it becomes hope, purpose, and life itself. Michael Patterson should have died in 30 days. He lived 548. And in those extra 518 days, he reminded everyone who heard his story that sometimes the most important battles aren't won by defeating death, but by choosing how we live in its shadow. The doctors had no explanation, but they didn't need one. The explanation was simple. Michael had something worth living for, and that made all the difference.